What are you ready to learn in 21 minutes? That's my question for you. We're here to find out. Welcome to the 21 in 21 Talks, where invited speakers share their 21-minute talks about all kinds of topics, ranging from beer brewing to business building. And I want to just say, this has been so much fun already. This is talk number 3 of this crazy series that came out of just a blog post, or it wasn't even a blog post. It was a social media post. And I asked people what they would want to talk about in 20 minutes, not even 21. They answered and I said, let's do it. And here we are. This series consists of 21 talks, 21 minutes long in 2021. Speakers can choose to use slides. They can choose to forego them entirely, as long as they don't go over their 21 minutes. You want to speak in smoke signals? You want to use puppets? Floor is yours for 21 minutes. So all talks can be watched live. Replays can be watched on Association Chat YouTube channel. And I am your host, here just to welcome these awesome people to the forefront. And today, on today's special 21 in 21 talk, we are featuring Patty Leeman. Yes. Hello, hello, hello. Hi.
Hello, Nikki.
I am so excited. Let me tell you all a little bit about Patty. Patty, why don't you sit there and enjoy while I read off your bio to everyone who's listening. So Patty Leeman, MBA, CAE, is a consultant focused on helping associations grow new programs and make decisions based on rational data and methodologies. Prior, she spent 20 years between the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Association for Professionals in Infection Control, and the American Society of Civil Engineers. And now, here is Patty with the 3 words to help you solve any problem. What engineers learn that can help any association's executive work through a problem or start a new program. I stumbled my way through it. All I have to say is I had my first vaccine dose today. So I'm a little spacey. I'm not going to lie.
But it's a great milestone. So fantastic.
Thank you. It's worth celebrating. And now let's celebrate finding out a little bit more about your 3 words. So
all right.
yours, Patty.
Thank you, Kiki, and thank you, everyone. I'm glad to be here today. Let me tell you a little bit how this started. I was not a great student, but I definitely did not bring home letters like this very often. Actually, I only did it once. And my mother went through the roof. It was in Algebra 2 in high school, and she thought that was completely unacceptable and got me a tutor. And my tutor was a female engineer, and she taught me how to solve problems like this. They were the bane of my existence. I'm sure I am not the only one in this room that saw a word problem in the day and said, oh God, I don't know how to do this. So she taught me 3 words to help break this down. And what I've learned after engineering school and everything else is that these 3 words can help you in any part of your life. So let's just start with the dreaded train problem. The first word she gave me was given. So when you get the first word, you write down the word given. You don't just start with that, you write given, and then you write down everything you know. Even if you think it might not be useful, even if you don't even know what it means, look beyond the problem at what you're looking at right now and see if something else can apply, like equations you've learned in class. But if it's non-mathematical, think about other things like culture, environmental conditions, resources, what can or cannot be controlled. Write down everything you might know. For the people who like mind mapping, this is the perfect place to put that in. Get your colored pencils out and just figure out what you need to put down. So looking at our train problem, we know how fast train A is going. We know how fast train B is going. We know they leave at the same time. We know how far apart they are, and we know an equation for solving the problem. So we put all that down under given. The second word is I actually think is the hardest, and that's the word find. I don't know how many tests I took over the years where the instructions say to solve for time, and I solved for distance, or completely blew it because I wasn't paying attention. And then when you extend it beyond mathematics, then you start asking, what am I really trying to achieve? We're going to go through an example in a few minutes, and we're going to have to think about what the CEO is asking us to do. And is it actually what was asked? Was that the question asked? So what are we trying to find? What are we solving for? What needs to happen? Going back to our little example with our trains, when do they meet? What time? In this case, it's elapsed time since the time of departure wasn't given. In some of them, it'll say they leave at 2 p.m., so you can add to that. But this one is just looking at the elapsed time. And then the word 3, again, each of these words you had to write out each time for every single homework problem, test problem I had in engineering school. You had to write these 3 words every single time and go through your process. Now, it was great in school because you got at least partial credit if you screwed up the problem. But if you're trying to do something completely different, like solving to start a new program, you end up in the solution section with a well thought through plan that's going to help guide a group through decision making. And it shows the assumptions you made along the way, and that others may need to change or need to be edited. My friend Sean Boynes used to work with me at APIC, and he was in charge of education, and I was in charge of special projects that involve sponsors. And I came up with this great idea for a webinar series, and I went to Sean and I said, here's the timeline, this is what we need to do. And he looked at me and said, nope, can't do it. And my first question was, why? Why can't we do it? And he said, well, we've got to have a committee. And I said, that's a waste of time. And he said, nope, that's the way our credentialing body works. If you want to get ANCC credits, we've got to have a committee. We've got to have oversight. And I was like, did the face palm, and I was like, oh, get it. So, so by having everything written down, he could immediately look at what the problem was and solve the problem with me in order to figure out the timeline that would actually work, which is why you want to write things out. Going back to our train, a bunch of mathematical stuff you guys don't care about, but we figured out that the trains will meet 2 hours after departure. Very simple solution. Harder when you're developing a new program. So that's why for the bulk of this, I'd like to think through what happens when this happens. Your CEO sends you a following text. Please design a new conference for us to launch in November. Immediately after you get the text, you get an email that goes to all staff that says, from the CEO, that I am turning off my phone now for a meditation retreat, and my phone will be confiscated. I have full trust that you can continue moving on all projects until I return in 2 weeks. So now what do we do? Oh, and by the way, we're assuming no COVID because it just adds an extra wrinkle that makes, we need like 21 days to solve this as opposed to 21 minutes. So then we're at a situation, we said, okay, well, what do we do? Do you wait? She's not giving us a lot of guidance. Develop a new conference. Well, gosh, that could be 100 different types of conferences. Should you wait for more guidance? Because you need more guidance from her. Do you just go ahead and say, I'm going to call a committee meeting and start discussing what the conference might be? And I'm going to pick on Jeremy Minnick here, because when I shared my 3 words with him offline earlier, he said, well, where's the word discussion? And I said, well, discussion is a good word, but it's often where association executives get trapped. Because you go into a room with a blank slate of piece of paper and you ask the committee, what do they think? And when that happens, you get the I thinks. What I've found is by having a system like this, you come in with some draft ideas for a conference, and then they shoot darts at it. And now they're trying to hone the ideas that you had, as opposed to running in circles and all thinking that their idea is the best one. Whereas you've already gone through some ideas and shown what may or may not work and why. And then the other option is that you do exactly what we're doing here, is you start outlining some conference possibilities to help you with the decision-making process upon the CEO's return. whoever writes the plan steers the direction of the project. It gives committees something to react to. It gives the CEO something to react to. It shows the CEO that you're actually a problem solver and not someone who just brings problems to her. So I opt for the last one. Where's the word discussion, Jeremy? I love it. So given, if we're just going to say, okay, I'm going to sit down at my desk. I sometimes actually on the first draft do it after hours at home with a glass of wine because it frees my mind up and I don't keep everything, but I just start writing down what I know. What do I know? I know what the mission of the organization is. I know what we're trying to achieve as an organization. So the conference should be doing something to advance the mission. What are the members like? Are they homogenous? Are they different groups? CEOs and college professors often don't want to do the same type of thing. So you want to look at them and say, well, if we're going to do a conference, who's it aimed at? And what's the culture of your association? Are you really trying to develop a high-level technical conference? Or are you developing a boondoggle? What resources do you have? I think in most cases, the answer from the CEO will be no extra staff. You're going to have to stretch and make this happen. But also, what kind of money do you have to put down? Is this going to be a money maker? How much money does it need to make? What's the money going to be used for? Often that's helpful to know. I've always been on the side in associations of trying to make money so that you can do other good things within the association. So it's helpful to know that this is going to go to student scholarships or that extra money is going to help finally start the certification program you've always wanted or anything that helps to advance the mission. And then what does the decision-making process look like? You know, some associations, everything has to go through a board. In others, everything has to go through a committee, then another committee, and then the board. Others don't have to go to the board at all. It just has to get blessed by the vice president or the CEO, and you're done. So kind of as we go through the program, we think about what the timeline would look like. Is there anything you're thinking I might be missing and what might be given that you know about starting the conference right away or need to think about through? Okay, I will go to the next one. Find. Look at the next one. We know we want to find, and we want to have a conference, and we know we want it to be next November. But what are we going to have to ask the CEO and really try to hone? Why does she want to have it? Is it to make more non-dues revenue? Is it to advance the state of the practice? Is it a boondoggle for member loyalty? And then the next question is, if it's any of those, is it the best way to achieve the ultimate goal? To make more money, there may be another way to do it. Develop a bigger sponsorship program around other things. Advancing the state of the practice might be a better November journal issue. Boondoggle might be a president's trip that is limited to very few people, but is heavily sponsored to pay for the trip. Could be all kinds of things like that. So you do need to know some more information, but through a combination of trying to work through your solution, what you start seeing, and then what the CEO wants, you can start putting the two things together to really define what you're trying to achieve. And then the solution, any good solution for developing a program will involve a timeline, a budget, the pros and cons of various scenarios. For this, I would probably come up with 3 scenarios and try to say, okay, I would develop something for the academics. I would develop something that was heavily sponsored to bring additional revenue in. And then I would maybe look for other special membership group that you want to bring more into the fold, maybe students, or maybe one group that has not engaged as much as with the organization. And then also, you'll probably come up with 5 or 6 different ones. Can you rule some of these out? And write this down. So if you're going to rule out doing something for, say, the academics, rule it out for a reason. Maybe because November is the worst time to have a conference for academics because they're grading finals. Maybe it's because they are notoriously not willing to spend money and the conference will likely not make money. Maybe it's because sponsors will not want to engage and that's a group you want to have engaged. So you'll kind of have to rule that out. The first cut, this is probably gonna be a pretty short document and pretty rough estimates. I like to use back of the envelope. So as you run through things, can you kind of scratch out, this will be good, that'll be good, that won't work, why? But at least show that you thought about it and made a decision about it. That way, when you go back to talk to the CEO, to other groups, you can say, well, I thought about it and this is why I didn't think that was important. The good news is that that doesn't mean that that's completely gone. They may give you some more information that adds to your given, that helps you start fine-tuning and helps in your solution. So it becomes an iteration to be going through the 3 words. And at the end, you end up having 2 or 3 really good ideas that are worth fleshing out, that show potential, that advance the mission of the organization, and will hopefully land pretty close to what the CEO is looking for. And that way you're 2 weeks ahead of where she expected you to be. So at this point, you've taken the first steps. When the CEO returns, ask the questions that have been developed through the process. You've really thought it through. She'll see that in what you're doing. Whether it's you're taking it to CEO, I'm using that as an example, or to a board or whoever you're reporting to. You can share your initial ideas and ask which ones she'd like more detail provided for the next meeting. And then keep going back to those 3 words to refine over and over again. And I'm pretty sure your D+ will go to an A+ by that point. I go pretty fast, so are there any questions that you guys have?
I just have to pop up here and say, oh my gosh, that was amazing. I just really, it's so great how you just really brought it all together in those 3 words. And I do have a question. As you were talking about making sure to write everything out, because in writing those reasons out, even if you're scratching them off, even if you're saying that these are the reasons something's not going to work, that you might come across information later that brings it back in. I thought that was such an important point, because how often do we just sort of figure in our heads how things are going, and eliminate things, and we never give anyone or anything the chance to bring that back up and to add new information so we can change our minds again. I thought that was really important. But it reminded me of the idea, the concept of showing your work. And, which I thought also reminded me of school and what I got in trouble for not showing my work. And so, is there an element of that in all of this where it's really making sure that you take the time to show your work in a way and write things out so that, if not just for yourself, maybe other people can come in and add to that information?
Yeah, I think that's perfect because, one of the things that I've seen is when you go to a committee with a raw idea, you get a lot of discussion, but you often don't get a lot of direction. When you show them some written work with direction, now they're going to respond to it. And by having things written out, first of all, you've got to be a little bit humble through this whole process because people are going to redline everything you do repeatedly. But that's the point. The point is that they should redline it. And that way you're working to develop, you're trying to take all the things you hear, because you're going to have to go through levels of probably senior staff, committees, board, nothing happens overnight in an association. So you're going to have to kind of keep honing and honing and honing as this process goes through. And you'll have things written, your assumptions written, what you're trying to achieve written. And at each step, you're going to get each of those things written a little bit crisper. And on a big project, I had to do this. And by the way, the CEO disappearing practically happened to me. She went to like India for 2 months and said, I need a business plan by September. She left on July 1 and said, by September, when I get back, I need a business plan to start a for-profit subsidiary.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
like, okay.
Your response was maybe different than mine would have been. Okay.
But that's the point, is you stop, you hone, you kept honing and kept thinking, and you talk to people and you make changes because you talk to somebody, and the CFO tells you something, and then some of the members you talk to tell you something else. I did that more on focus groups than I did on discussion groups, and by the time we were done, it went through the board and was approved. So it took another year of honing, but we got it through when it finally went to vote for the first time.
Well, I see that Karen said, I appreciate the algebra-driven problem-solving approach. It's exactly what my half librarian, half actuary mind does. Yes, and it's so good to see you, Karen. So glad that you chimed in here.
And I think even if you don't have the math mind, I think there's a lot of other words that people use. I turned the term mind mapping, something that I've never said before. And, it's one that I think works and helps.
Yeah.
If that's how your mind works.
Well, and I really love that you can use these 3 words as a framework. It's like a shortcut to really providing you with a framework, an outline, if you will, when you're going through your reasoning for things with people. I love, if I can just commit the 3 words to memory, Patty, then I'll have my whole life figured out. And I can do given, find, solution, given, find, solution. But
and you can do it to figure out what to make for dinner tonight. What's in the refrigerator.
Okay, that's given.
You know what your child will eat.
Yes.
You know what she will not eat. you know how much time you have.
Yeah.
And what your find is to feed the child so she doesn't get angry.
Right. Yes. Yes, that's what you're solving for. And then the solution is, whatever you I guess end up coming up with after you answer the first 2, right?
Yeah, you say, okay, I'm going to roast the chicken in the oven, and I'm going to make that mashed cauliflower dish she likes, and we're going to have delicious lemon water to drink with it, and that's good to go.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So I didn't actually put this up across the bottom of the screen while you were talking and giving your presentation, your 21 and 21. But I wanted to make sure that if anyone wants to tweet you, this is correct, right? I have the right Twitter handle and everything. If people want to reach out, how else can they reach out to you?
Actually, if we can put the slides back up.
Okay, let me go ahead and put them back up. Boom.
That's me. So it's psl@pattyleeman.com, and that's my cell number. Anybody who's sat through this, who wants to talk to me through something they're trying to solve, be willing to get on the phone with you and give you some free advice. It's worth exactly that much.
I actually have to disagree. I've known Patty for years, and Patty, you are amazing. People are very lucky to talk to you. So I think that I would really highly encourage people to reach out and take her up on her offer. Definitely reach out to Patty and talk with her, because you will not regret it. And Karen says, yes, it's a lot like the serenity prayer too, knowing what you can't control, given, and what you can, and your overall why. Ooh, that's good.
Absolutely. I thought about a personnel problem as the problem to solve, and I realized that no matter how you looked at it, it had all to do with what you could control, and you can only control yourself. Yeah. And you can control data, you can control yourself, you can control process, but you can't control people. So,
Well, this was really wonderful. And it was 21 minutes or around about 21 minutes. Not too bad. How do you feel after this? I mean, I didn't warn you that I was going to ask you this, but how do you feel about
oh,
your 21 and 21?
oh, I'm always critical of myself. So I think I thought through this stuff. I hope it helps somebody. I think that's the most important thing.
That's someone reaching out to you, telling
I
you
know.
you
If
did
Sherry's on the
fantastic.
phone, I'll call you right
Yeah.
back.
Well, I just want to say thank you again. And I'm going to let everyone know that, listen, if you want to reach out to Patty, please do that. Reach out to her, talk with her, because she is a fountain of knowledge. And I absolutely love that she is in my circle of friends, that I know her, and that I trust the advice that she gives. So I can't say enough good about Patty Leeman. And I hope that you learned a little bit from this 21 and 21. These 21 and 21 talks, they're meant to be fun. They're meant to be enjoyable, inspiring, and short and to the point. So if you got something out of this, let us know in the comments. Let me know what you think about them. We're going to continue rolling them out. We have more 21 and 21 talks that are actually scheduled out throughout the entire rest of the year. But there are still a few spaces. So if you didn't get a chance to sign up for a 21 and 21 talk yet, you still have a chance. Only a few of them, but you have a few of them. So I can share the calendar invite with you. Just comment below and I'll be sure to share that link with you so you can schedule your talk. And with that, I want to thank Patty Leeman again for sharing her 21 and 21 talk with us today. Keep asking questions, my friends, to learn every day. Because why? Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week.